They'll tell you need a business website, a business phone number, and and Ring Central and all this other stuff. Being very transparent, you don't need any of that. Unless you're going to get business lines of credit and business loans where there's a lot of manual underwriting. Like literally business credit cards is tier 1 easy approvals. It's usually automated anyway. You don't have to have a website. You don't have to have a business phone number. You don't have to have all those extra things they tell you to get in order to get access. Is that best practice? Yes, but that's not necessarily needed.
Imagine making the next big investment in your business without worrying about how you secure the capital to do it. Every day you're putting in the work. You clock in at your job, you stay up late to work on your business, you handle your family responsibilities, but hard work isn't enough to create financial freedom. Here's why so many entrepreneurs still feel stuck. Business credit approvals keep slipping through your fingers. The advice that you've been given doesn't match the results. And you've invested in yourself, but without having the right structure, it hasn't paid off. It's not that you're not capable, it's just that the path that you've been given is broken. That's why I created the Fast Track to Capital. It's a proven framework that entrepreneurs are using to boost their credit so that lenders can trust them, structure their business so that banks see them as credible, and access $50,000 to $100,000 in business credit so they can finally act on opportunities. This isn't about working harder. It's about applying the same structure that wealthy entrepreneurs have been using for years. So if you're ready to stop spinning your wheels and actually move forward, click the link above or below this video to secure your spot in the free masterclass, and I'll see you on the other side of success.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Marvin Francois Show, your number one source for all things business, finance, and investing. And today is a very special day because our guest today is an entrepreneur, investor, mentor, coach, personal credit specialist, business credit strategist, and alternative funding expert extraordinaire. He's the CEO of Waiters Capital, a 7-figure company that's helped hundreds of entrepreneurs all across the country acquire well over $40 million in funding and counting. And through his program, Wealth Builders Academy, paired with his several years in the industry, he's built a brand that's responsible for helping countless entrepreneurs reach their first 6-figure year with nothing more than the right relationships, the right strategy, and all of the right resources. And whether he's hosting weekly masterclasses teaching aspiring business owners how to start making $10K a month with only 1 to 2 clients, or providing strategies on how to connect with alternative lenders to fund your business that 99% of the industry never talks about, his mission remains the same: to empower all entrepreneurs alike with the tools, information, and resources needed to turn the game of credit into cash flow and scale your business. And today, he's here to do more of the same. Ladies and gentlemen, from Miami, Florida, by way of Las Vegas, Nevada, I'm here with the one, the only, my good friend, Mr. Stedman Waiters. What's going on, family? How are you?
What's going on, brother? Every time you do that, man, I just get, I don't know, man, just a feeling, bro. You have a way with words, man.
I appreciate it. Man, I'm incredible. You are royalty here over at the Marvin Francois Show, and I'm excited to be able to bring you back. First off, the money green is doing what it needs to do, brother.
Hey,
You're looking fly.
I love
You're looking phenomenal, man. Welcome back, bro. How's New York been treating you this far?
Great, but not great, man. You know, it's snowing, so I got to get used to that. You know, in Vegas, we don't get any snow at all, so it's a little bit different, man. But before we even get started, man, you did a great intro, but when the last time somebody gave you your flowers, man?
Man, that's a great question. It's been a minute. I don't really look for it, but when they come, man, I always appreciate it, you know?
Well, look, I'm going to be a servant, a steward to you and give you your flowers while you can still smell them, right?
Okay.
A lot of people come on your podcast, but I want to acknowledge you for being a great person, the achievements you had all this year and the achievements you'll have in the future, man. So I went and got you something a little special, man. And I want to be the first person to get you something, man.
Okay.
So we gonna got my guy his own belt. Got my guy his own belt, man. Y'all need to stop sleeping on my guy Marvin, man. Got him his own belt, man.
The Marvin Francois Show belt. I love
Marvin Francois Show belt. Like I mentioned, sponsored and powered by Waiters Capital and Wealth Builders Academy, boss.
I love it.
We got Takeoff Financial on there as well.
I love it.
We got to make sure you're good. And like always, man, we got to put the brand on there. So we got Waiters Capital and Wealth Builders Academy. And this is our gift to you, man. This is our gift to you for having the best damn credit podcast on there, bro. So I want to give you that, like I mentioned, bro, before we even get started, man. And it's heavy. It's real. It's heavy.
Put the camera on me. They got to see this. They got to see this. I might cut a wrestling promo right now. What we talking about? Yeah, absolutely. Hold on, let me see. Yes, my dog. I appreciate you, bro.
It's all good, man. No problem, bro. And what 2026 is about, man, is about having fun, right?
Yeah.
We already did the hard work of putting in the long nights, putting in the hours, putting in, you know, making sacrifices, man. So 2026, man, is about having fun with it and scaling up, man. That's why I got mine here as well.
Okay.
As you can see, your funder's favorite funder, Waiters Capital and Wealth Builders Academy as well. But yeah, man,
My guy.
super excited to be here, boss.
This is probably one of the most dopest gifts I ever received. To your point, it's very rare, especially as dudes, that we give each other our flowers in this industry. I always try and do my best whenever I have people like yourself on the pod, but this means the world to me. Obviously, my goal is to be able to highlight your genius for the people to watch. Very rarely do we have moments where people kind of flip the script and try and do it for me. So for me to you, brother, this means the world. Probably the greatest gift that I've ever received. And thank you, brother. That means the world to me.
No problem, man. I appreciate you.
My dog. Ladies and gentlemen, this was not planned. I know this brother came with a whole belt. But we here, we live. And my guy, I appreciate it. This episode is about to be one of one. I'm looking forward to it. Obviously, I did a solid job introducing you, bro. But nobody knows Stedman Waiters better than the man who's sitting on the couch here. So for those who are unfamiliar, let's get them familiar. Who exactly is Stedman Waiters?
100%, man. So I'll start from the beginning like I always do. Didn't come from the best backgrounds when it comes down to it. Everything that I achieved in life, I fought for, right? Came from a single family household. I was the oldest of 5 siblings. So I had to grow up at an early age, bro. I was the head of my household at the age 13, 14. You know what I'm saying? Doing everything. And I feel like that maturity or that pressure that was put on me at a young age helped me become the person I am today. Was fortunate enough to make it, I would say, to an extent in football. Was pretty good at football in high school. Ended up playing football at Georgia Southern University on Division I football. Then going from there, playing a little bit of arena, CFL. Didn't make it to where I wanted to. And I had to get over identifying myself with a sport. And I feel like a lot of athletes go into that deep depression. When you don't make it in your sport and you identify with your sport, you're kind of lost. You don't know what to do, right? And you're in that limbo mode. Got into corporate America as an engineer because I studied electrical engineering in school. But during even that phase, I was overworked, undervalued, and underpaid when it came down to it, right? And I knew the 9-to-5 world wasn't for me. It's nothing wrong with it. It was a great leverage opportunity.
Yeah.
But I wanted more for myself. I wanted freedom. I wanted to be able to, you know what I'm saying, go after everything I wanted, right? Got into entrepreneurship and never looked back. And honestly, looking back now, this is the only time in my life that I've fully been in control of my life. Meaning with football, you're told what time to wake up, you're told what to do, and being very transparent. Once you get to the collegiate and professional level, it's very political. The best man don't always win, right? Same thing in corporate America. You may be the best worker, but somebody may have a better relationship with the supervisor or the boss, and they may get that promotion over you, even though you may be qualified for that promotion. So in both of those areas, you don't technically have control over your future, but in entrepreneurship, you do. Because it's never a matter of how, it's a matter of when. If you put the work in, you will eventually see success in entrepreneurship.
Yeah, wow. There was a lot there. Let's take a step back and unpack that. You talked about kind of the humble beginnings that you come from. From as young as you could remember, were there ever any examples of entrepreneurship that you remember seeing, or was it always like go to school, get a job, and then just work until you die?
I would say maybe in elementary was like my only hints of entrepreneurship, I would say. Just selling candy. Being in Florida, that was like a common thing for kids to sell candy after school. So that's kind of what I did to make some money. But once I got out of elementary and got really tapped in with football, that's all I cared about. So I didn't even care about business, being an entrepreneur, being a business owner, because it was like football is going to be my way out. So I put all of my energy, all of my attention, everything I did from the age of, let's say, 13 to 14 till, let's say, 23 was catered towards football. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So you end up going to Georgia Southern. The focus is football. You come out of school. Obviously, you don't make it. You said something key, which is very true. And you hear a lot of professional athletes talk about it. It's very difficult, especially if you're striving for a goal of becoming a professional athlete, to switch out of that identity. And because in order for you to get there, that's all you can know for more than 10, 15 plus years of your life. To now get to a point where you have to accept the reality of like, yo, this may be the dream I want, but it's not the dream that wants me back. And I'm going to have to go ahead and pivot. What were you able to do that most athletes usually aren't able to do to kind of accept that, but then not only accept it and find yourself in this dark place where it's just like, all right, if I'm not an athlete, I'm gonna just sit here and not work on myself and not hone in on my potential. But for you to say, okay, this isn't my lane, I'm gonna go ahead and pivot over here and take it to another level that I didn't even know was possible.
Yeah. I would say it started off in college, man, which is adversity. Like I said, the best man or hardest worker doesn't always play in college. So just seeing that and having a firsthand experience with that, it started to make me look at other things to kind of square away. And what really set me apart and really like made me think about future outside of football was honestly during my recruiting trip. One of the seniors that was that I did my recruiting trip at Georgia Southern. One of the seniors there, he was graduating, had no hope of going to the league, right? And he was going to the military. And he was like, look, when you get here, don't let these coaches choose your future. They're going to have you choose an easier major so that you can stay focused on football and make their team GPA look great. But he told me straight up, hey, I'm somebody that fell into that trap and I'm doing something I could have did without even going to school, which is going to the military. He didn't have to go to college for that. So he's like, when you come here, don't let them choose your future. So that's when I chose electrical engineering, right? Which was tough, but just looking back, it was my leeway into being able to even leverage to get into business, right? So that was the first thing. And then the second thing I would say when it came to me kind of seeing that maybe football wasn't the route for me was just training. People don't understand, like when you're an athlete, when you're a professional athlete, training is expensive. You got to eat the best type of food, quality food, proteins. You got to have the best diet. You got to pay for the best trainers. And a lot of people don't know, especially football, like football kicks you out. If you financially can't keep up with paying for trainers and you don't have an agent backing this stuff up and being able to eat the right stuff, you're eventually going to get kicked out because you can't keep up. You know what I mean? And you have that small time window. So those things kind of adding up, I knew I had to make a move. And that's when I pivoted to just using my engineering degree and becoming an electrical engineer.
So you go from, I'm all in on football. You get to a point where you realize football is not going to be the route for me. You go now, you have the electrical engineering degree to fall back on. You go into the space. I think what's interesting is for most of the entrepreneurs I speak to, I think for the outside world of people who aren't entrepreneurs, you would think that like most entrepreneurs like been in business from day one and have just been building from there. The ongoing theme I see with most successful entrepreneurs like yourself is a lot of times you come from being very successful in corporate or just being in a successful corporate space and just getting to a point where you're just like, there has to be more, or like, yo, this is not what I thought it was going to be. Like I have to go ahead and in your case, pivot again. Is that what it was for you?
100%. So I'm gonna look in the camera and just speak to my athletes, right? I'm gonna speak from a football perspective or just sports in general. If you play the sport at a high level, you already have some of the tools to be successful in entrepreneurship. Why? Because in any sport, you face adversity, right? You're always gonna have that in business, right?
Yeah.
So you're used to adversity, right? You're used to having structure, especially if you play a Division I sport. You're used to waking up early. You're used to, working late, and that's what entrepreneurship is. So you already have the being able to overcome adversity and the structure you need when it comes down to business, right? And those two tools, I feel like, take you a long way. And adding in consistency, right? Because that's all business is. Like business is one of those things that's pretty weird. Like it's actually crazy. You can go 3 months of taking L's in business and have one W, and it wipes away all the L's. It's the craziest thing I ever seen. You can go 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 months of not making any money, of falling flat on your face in business, and that 1 month changes everything. And the crazy thing about that is, as an entrepreneur, sometimes we look at the L's that we're taking and not looking at them as lesson learns, but we don't understand that once we get that W, nobody cares about all the L's.
Yeah.
Everybody that's successful, do they ever ask them like how many hardships you have?
Nope.
They usually ask them, how are you able to make $1 million? How are you able to do this? They only talk about the highlights. So I feel like as entrepreneurs, right, if we understand that, it helps us to work further towards our dreams, understanding that win is just around the corner. And when it does come, it wipes away all the L's that we ever took. You know what I mean?
Talk a little bit more about that, because you find yourself in engineering now. Where does what bridges the gap for you to go from being in this engineering space to now finally going all in and making the transition to entrepreneurship?
This may sound crazy, but it was money. It was money and freedom.
Okay.
So being the electrical engineer, I work for Georgia Power, which is a utility company, right? Basically, anytime power is out, I was getting a call. 1 a.m., 2 a.m., doesn't matter. I'm getting a call. I got to go out and ride the circuit and figure out what's going on to get people powers on, right? That kind of messed with my mental. It was hard to sleep and not really having that work-life balance that we look for in a 9 to 5.
Yeah.
Right. And just the money, I would say that the money part of it, of really not being compensated properly for the time that I was putting into a job. Like you got to look at my mindset back then. I was a regional electrical engineer. So I work with all the big companies in Atlanta, right? I'm sending $500,000 invoices for businesses to pay, and I'm making $78,000 a year. right?
Mm.
I'm working 12-hour days to come up with a proposal to present to our board to then, send a $500,000 invoice.
Mhm.
This thing is getting paid and I'm only making $78,000 and I'm doing this all day, every day, right?
Mhm.
I'm stressing. Like I mentioned before, I was overworked, undervalued, and underpaid. So just with those things alone and really not having a work-life balance, I knew I can do something, live up to my potential, and have more of my time to myself to be able to really enjoy life. You know what I mean?
So you go from making 78K and you say, all right, cool, I want to get into entrepreneurship. What did the early stages of business look like for you? Because I think social media makes it seem like you start a business today. I'm gonna make my first $1 million tomorrow, and then I could be in Carousel with my feet up, kicking it, and life is good. But you and I know it's a lot more in between that happens there. What did that look like for you?
So me, man, I just got hooked from an ad. It was during COVID time, like a lot of us, right?
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to my guy, him. I seen him with a McLaren,
Mm.
the Fendi, saying you can get all these. He said something like all of this was free. It credit paid for itself, or I got all this off of credit.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, what? What are you talking about? Like,
Yeah.
and just saying like how you can do all these different things off of credit. And I got hooked, man, and it got me introduced into entrepreneurship and credit overall. And from there, when I started to see like you literally can have no money, have good credit, get access to capital, and start your business leveraging the bank's money, I was like, it's a no-brainer. Especially when I figured out what 0% interest funding was.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, wait, there are banks that will give you, a business credit card with 0% interest for 12 months, and it doesn't report to your personal, and you just got to pay back the minimum every month. I'm like, it's a no-brainer. Like, you know what I'm saying? We have the tools, and just being in America, that's one thing that I think people take for granted. My family's from the Bahamas, and there it's like you either got to have land or the money. But here in America, we have an opportunity where we don't have to necessarily have the money, but if we understand financial literacy, structuring our credit, getting those things proper and structured the right way, we can still get access to capital to be able to invest, you know what I'm saying, and make money off of that.
So you see this ad, you find yourself in the credit space, and it's kind of like a mindset shift of like, there's a tool that's out there that allows us to get access to unlimited capital that we can use to invest, create cash flow, and like you said, get that time freedom, get that financial freedom. When do you feel like you got to a point where it finally started to click, where it's like, okay, I know about this thing, but now I understand it, I've mastered it, and now the money's starting to come in?
I would say once I became fed up with my situation. So just like most people, when you the first time investing in yourself, most of us, we don't really believe in ourselves. We kind of lie to ourselves and say like we believe in ourselves and we know we can do it. We know we can make $1 million. That's usually what we tell ourselves, right? But then we get into something and then we see that it's not as easy as we thought it was. And I kind of went through that as well, working a job and, thinking it was going to be like I don't want to say get rich quick, but it's like, oh, it's simple. You just do this, do this, do that. And then you figure out it's actually 20 steps to this one thing. You know what I mean? So once I got over that hump of like not liking my situation enough, and I was like, yo, I got to figure this thing out, I started to really lock in. And when I mean locking in, every single day I'm listening to coaching calls. Every single day I'm implementing, talking to people, just trying things out, just getting started. And I feel like that's where a lot of people get stuck, is they never get started. And if you never get started, you're 100% guaranteed to always lose. You know what I mean?
100%. I want to dive into some of the expertise that's gotten you to this point for the people who are watching, because there's someone out there who's watching this, who's where you were when you were working at Georgia Power, I think is what it's called.
Yeah.
Where they want to start a business, or they have a business that they're trying to grow, and they're capped out because they don't understand credit. They don't have a solid foundation on financial literacy to get the resources they need to get to that first 10K, 20K, 30K month, or whatever it is they're doing. And really break it down for them to where by the end of this episode, whether it's on the personal credit side, the business credit side, they have all the tools and information they need to go ahead and win. Can we do that?
100%,
Okay,
always.
beautiful. This episode, we filming right now in 2025, but this episode is coming out in 2026, right? So my first question for you is going to start on the personal credit side, because as you and I know, that's the foundation for everything else. So in 2026, do you still think that having good personal credit is important when it comes to going out and getting access to funding on the business side?
It's always going to be that. It's always going to be that, right? And to kind of reverse engineer it to make it simple, because I love simplifying things for everybody, you either got to have the credit or the cash flow to get funds. Just being very, very transparent. You either have to have a structured credit profile to show underwriters that you are a reliable borrower and they're willing to give you money based off of your past experiences with your credit profile, or you have to show them revenue, that you have a business that generates some type of revenue. That way they see that, we can trust this person with X amount because we see consistently they're making 10, 20, 30, 40, 50K, right? So having personal credit is going to be essential, right? You're doing yourself a disjustice not having personal credit, a good personal credit in 2026. And it's always going to be needed because that's one of the important factors that banks are going to lend off of.
What if the next time you heard from the banks, it was a $50,000 to $100,000 approval letter instead of another denial? You've been putting in the work, balancing your job, your business, and your family responsibilities. But here's the truth that most entrepreneurs never hear. Hard work alone is not enough to get the banks to say yes. Banks approve entrepreneurs who are structured the right way, and that's the missing piece that's been holding you back all along. We've seen it over and over again. Entrepreneurs who came to us who were stuck getting denial after denial got access to the right system, structure, and strategy that unlocked $50,000, $75,000, and even $100,000 credit approvals. And here's the real cost of waiting. Every month you go without having access to capital is another month where your opportunities are slipping into another business's hands. That's why we created the Fast Track to Capital, a free masterclass where we break down the exact steps needed to make yourself look fundable to banks so that you can access the capital needed to scale your business. We only do this training a limited amount of times per year, so if you're ready to secure your spot, click the link above or below this video so that you don't go another year without having the access to capital that your business needs.
Let's dive a little bit more into that. You talked about the importance of personal credit. We're going to talk about the revenue side too, because I know that's the side that, hey man, I didn't see you put some posts up. I'm like, all right, we got to bring this brother back on the podcast and talk about this. We're going to get there. Let's start off first on the personal side. What are some of the different ways that I can go about building and structuring my personal credit to be in position to get funded if I wanted to be able to leverage that to go out and get access to capital on the business side?
100%. So the first thing that people don't talk about, and I'm going to just say this because we both know, you first want to practice patience. Before we go to any credit builders, any whatever, we need to be patient throughout the process, right? Because we got to understand credit is a long game. It's a long game. It takes a long time. It takes a while to build it up, but it takes one mistake to ruin it, right?
Yeah.
So we have to practice patience. Your time is coming, no matter what, right? As we go down, like I mentioned, payment history is going to be one of the most impactful, important things when it comes down to it. Not having any recent late payments, right?
Yeah.
Underwriters look at your most recent 24 months of payment history. So if you have late payments from COVID and different things, but you've shown them on-time payments from then, they're not going to hit you for that, right? They're looking at the most recent 24 months of payment history when it comes down to it. And that shows your ability to pay back. Does that make sense? Right? Moving on to, I would say, negatives. We got to clean up the negatives. The only way negatives are really going to work when it comes to securing funding is if you have revenue, a cash flowing business. Then there's ways to override that. But if you're strictly depending on your personal credit, we got to take the time to remove the negatives, right? And I want to preach patience again, right? Because we know the credit repair process sometimes can take time, but it's worth it, right? And the reason I want to say that it's worth it is I'd rather you have to sit down and wait 6 to 12 months to improve your credit than having a negative on your credit report for the next 7.5 years. You know what I'm saying? I'd rather wait 6 to 12 months than 7.5 years, right?
Facts.
Moving on. I know the gurus tell you 10% or lower utilization. I'm just being very, very transparent. That's best practice, but that's not necessarily what you need, right? 35% or lower is ideal when it comes down to utilization. And the biggest thing, the biggest thing that which we're going to deep dive in is having comparables, right? That's what underwriters look at to base lending off of, the comparables that are on your credit profile. Comparables are existing accounts shown on your credit profile that lenders can base decisions off of. To give a real life example, I want to break it down and make it easy for everybody to understand. When you go to apply for a credit card, a bank is going to pull your credit report and they're going to want to see what existing credit cards you have on your credit profile. Whether those are secured or unsecured, they want to see what existing credit cards you have on your profile. They're going to look at the payment history. They're going to look at the limits. They're going to even look at the banks that issued those credit cards, right? They're looking at all those things to justify approving you for a certain limit. Those are one-to-one comparables. When you're applying for a loan, it's the same exact thing. When you're applying for a loan and they pull your credit, they want to look at your loan history. They want to see, what loans have you had in the past? Have you paid them off? What are the loan amounts, right? And they use those to base decisions off of. So understanding what they're looking for allows you to play the game better. Now, as we go into building credit, this is where it gets very, very important. As we talked about last episode, secured credit cards are still the way to go. Why? Because it shows lenders liquidity, right? When you get a secured credit card, you're essentially putting your money up right? So even though you may not have established credit, right, they're able to see that you're liquid. And remember, we talked about earlier, banks lend off of what? Credit and revenue, or
Yep.
credit and income, right?
Yep.
So having one or the other puts you in a better position to get access to capital. Me personally, I don't really believe in the credit builder accounts, and I just want to kind of disown that, because I feel like in our space, people come in here and say the same shit, kick off self and all that stuff, and being realistic, actually speaking and being with underwriters all the time, they look over those things. It may make your credit score look sexy, but it's not appealing to the banks at all, right? Secured credit cards are definitely the way to go to help you establish your credit profile, and secured loans as well.
It's funny that you bring up the secured loans, because why I like sitting down with you so much is that there are times I listen, I'm just like, man, I got to go back to the drawing board, because there are times where we see the information that's getting put out online where a lot of the same things will get pushed out and preached in terms of how to build credit, how to get access to funding. And you'll come on here and be like, bump all that. You'll come here and be like, bump all that. They lying to you. This is the real game. One of the things you talked about was secured credit products, because when I first came into this space, secured credit products were looked down upon from the standpoint of like, stay away from them. You only want to use credit builders and, use those to put you in position to get more primary lines of credit. You were the first person I've had on this pod that's ever said like you're actually a proponent of it. And the logic behind it makes perfect sense, because it gives you an opportunity, when done correctly, to show liquidity. Are there other things that you think you see are getting pushed out into space right now on the personal credit side, whether, or even if it's just one thing that most people may believe when it comes to putting themselves in position to get funding, that you want to go ahead and dispel?
Well, we talked about the biggest one, I would say credit builders, right? Having unrealistic expectations on building credit, right? You're not going to establish credit in 30 days and go be able to get $100K from a bank.
Facts.
Don't let people tell you that lie. It's going to take time, and I kind of pride myself on being transparent, but it's always worth it. Another thing I would say too, that if you ever want to test the waters, always go with pre-approvals. Like pre-approvals, if you don't know, these are applications that you can put in that don't actually impact your credit score, but you're able to see, you never know, you may get approved for $5,000, $7,000 on your first $3,000 credit card. So pre-approvals is something good. And I feel like establishing relationships internally can help, because I've seen a lot of clients that we've helped, right, that may not have the most established credit, but they have their 9-to-5 paycheck being deposited every 2 weeks with their local credit union. And that credit union analyzes that relationship. And just because they have a relationship, they're able to approve them for their first 10K, 15K card right out the back, just off of their depository history. So it always goes back to simplify. You got to have the credit or the income, and either one of those can get you what you're looking for.
So if we take care of everything on the personal credit side and we want to now start transitioning to getting business credit the traditional way of just leveraging our personal credit to get it, what's the first step that we need to take to start putting ourselves in position to go out and accessing that capital?
I would say making sure first that you have established personal credit that we kind of talked about. That's always going to be the best thing, because this is going to be business credit is going to be based off of your personal credit. The second thing I would say that I've seen lately is having filing, getting your LLC or corporation, right? I know that's day one stuff, but a lot of people skip over that step on how important it is to have an LLC, make sure that it's paid up, you don't have any taxes or any liens, anything like that, because that can come back to bite you in the long run, right? On top of that, like I mentioned as well, it's like once you have those things in play, you can always run pre-approvals to test the waters. You can always run pre-approvals. You're never going to go wrong running pre-approvals to test the waters when it comes down to it. I know a lot of people now, and I want to kind of clarify this as well. They'll tell you need a business website, a business phone number, and Ring Central and all this other stuff. Being very transparent, you don't need any of that. Like, unless you're going to get lines of credit, business lines of credit, and business loans where there's a lot of manual underwriting. Like literally business credit cards is tier 1 easy approvals. It's usually automated anyway. You don't have to have a website. You don't have to have a business phone number. You don't have to have all those extra things they tell you to get in order to get access. Is that best practice? Yes, but that's not necessarily needed. So that's another thing I want to clarify when it comes down to it. You do want to have an LLC, right? I've seen lately that LLCs and corporations are getting more funding than sole props. If you don't know what a sole prop is, you're essentially doing business as yourself, and you don't have to actually file, like I said, with your Secretary of State to get access to business funding. But what I've seen lately is LLCs and corporations are now getting more funding than, like I mentioned, sole props. You know what I mean?
So if I'm hearing you correctly, if I want capital on just in business credit cards, I don't need a business address. I don't need a business website. Don't need a business phone number. Instead, you're breaking my heart. Instead, you're breaking my heart.
Now let me clarify the business address, because I know everybody going to run with it, right? You got to be very literal, right? So the business address has to make sense with the ordinary practice of the business or the industry of the business. I
Right.
want to make sure that's very clear. So let me look in the camera. The business address is going to be dependent on the industry that you're actually in, right? So if you say you have a restaurant and you have a home address, that's a red flag, right? You need a brick and mortar, a food truck, or something like that, right? But if you're doing digital marketing, if you're doing consulting, if you're doing professional services, you can have a home address because most people are now working out of their home office. So you can have a home address if the business that you're operating, it makes sense that you can do that. But you can't say that I have a manufacturing business and my home address is my business. That doesn't make sense because some industries require a brick and mortar.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it has to make sense for most industries, most service-based businesses. You can use your home address 100%. That is not going to stop you from getting the amounts of funding that you need. And I kind of hate when people say that because it's not true. But if you're running a business that requires a brick and mortar, right, like manufacturing, like some restaurants, right, you need, like I said, a virtual address or actual brick and mortar address. Yeah.
Are there any, because you know this better than I do, that the funding space, it's ever changing. It's like what worked 2, 3, 4 months ago may not necessarily work right now, and it probably won't work again, several months going forward. Have you seen any changes that people watching should be aware of when it comes to how they're putting themselves and their business in position to go out and get access to capital?
100%. The number one thing that I'm gonna talk about too, because we got a lot of one trick ponies. Should we just talk about
Let's
Chase?
talk about it. Let's talk about it. We here.
So your favorite gurus, their number one and probably only bankrupt they have is Chase, right? Chase has severely changed the underwriting guidelines. Why? Because of the default rates. If you remember last year, the same time, I talked about consulting being high risk because of underwriters saying that that's where the most defaults are coming from. Because of those defaults, now Chase has changed up the whole underwriting guidelines. Can you still go get 50K no docs from Chase? 1,000%. But it's not going to be as easy as a walk in the park as it used to be. And then a lot of people don't understand with Chase now, they're now cutting their limits because of that. So understanding that.
We here, man. We here.
I know. But let's get into the Chase. Let's get into the Chase situation, right? So with Chase specifically, and we can just talk about funding overall, but I'll speak specifically for Chase for right now, right? So with Chase specifically right now, they're doing a lot more underwriting, and now bankers have become geo-locked. I don't know if you're familiar with geo-lock, meaning that certain bankers in certain regions can only service businesses around their region, right? You're not being able to get a banker from New York and they be able to fund your client in California, right? Some are geo-locked, some can still work everywhere. BRMs are now being a little bit more careful on what files they actually pick up and doing more underwriting themselves before they even submitting it to underwriting, because now they're being audited on the submission that they come from, right? And asking like, this guy's all the way in Florida, you work in Las Vegas, why are you submitting the app? You know what I mean? He doesn't have any revenue, whatever the case may be. So understanding that, one, now with Chase specifically, you got to have a higher credit score. It used to be you can have a 700, some comparables, maybe even add one trade line and get the job done. Now they're more so favoring 720s or higher. That's not all across the board, but that's just in general, right? Another thing is it's a wrap with consulting. It's a wrap with consulting. I've had some BRMs personally tell me like, nah, I'm not submitting that one. Literally turn it down because it says consultant. Some will, some won't. So it's going to be based on the BRM, but the BRMs I work with, a lot of them, they're not really touching consulting because it's high risk. And they know once they put that file through, underwriting is going to do more research on the business, right? Chase is moving to one of those banks, those lenders that are looking to see if you have a business website, different things like that. And we used to be where you can run double apps. You can get 2 Chase business credit cards. Now it's limited to 1. You know what I'm saying? So because of the defaults, because of the non-educational financial literacy and how to use this credit the right way, we've now seen Chase withdrawing back from giving everybody the approvals that they used to get. You know what I mean? So that's one thing when it comes down to it. Overall, though, with the funding industry as a whole, especially going into 2026, for the most part, it's wide open, man. Like everybody said, banks are tightening up, and banks are always going to tighten up. But we've seen consistent approvals from all national banks and credit unions, man. Even with Wells Fargo, I'll go ahead and tell you guys here, depending on who you know, they have no docs lines of credit. They have no docs lines of credit that we've been able to run lately. That's really, really a good bank that we go to. Truist as well, still hitting very good. So there still are banks out there that are lending. Don't let people tell you that banks are tightening up, because that's more of a scarcity marketing type of play. So
I want to unpack that though, because it's important we talk about, and you kind of alluded to it, but like why banks like Chase, and really banks across the board, more specifically Chase, because it's the biggest, the big dog amongst them all,
Mhm.
are tightening up and do make a lot of changes they make. And it's because it's a cycle. Someone finds out a play or hack,
Yeah.
information gets put out. A lot of it is either misinterpreted or spread amongst people that don't know what they're doing. Now you have hundreds of thousands of people across the country running plays, and Chase is like, I bet we shutting it down, right?
Yeah.
And then the cycle continuously repeats until the line kind of gets pushed further and further and further out to where it just becomes a lot more difficult unless you have a really solid relationship manager, or if you're in the know, for you to go out and get capital. I'm curious for you, you have firsthand experience of seeing that on a consistent basis. What are your thoughts around gatekeeping? Because for me, I feel like it's kind of, on one hand, it's just like you want to give the people the information,
Mhm.
but on the other hand, it's just like, at what point am I giving out so much to where this actually may be counterproductive to my business, to where it's like, yeah, I want to give y'all value, but I know it's going to be somebody out there. There's going to be a group of people out there that take this, F it up for everybody, to where it's just like, now none of us can use any of these strategies. Where do you stand when it comes to that?
I'm for gatekeeping. I know,
Oh, damn.
I know that may be the opposition, but I'm for gatekeeping. Why? Because you got to have some type of filter between real information and who gets it.
Right.
Why? Because there's so many different things. First of all, you have people with negative intentions, right? Everybody does not deserve to get $50,000 no docs, because you don't even have a business. You don't even know what you can do. For some people, getting them $50,000 can be more detrimental than actually helping them.
Facts.
People that have no type of desire to start a business are just going to spend that on clothes and stuff they can't pay back, materialistic stuff. And then a year down the road, when that interest kicks in, they drown in default.
Yeah.
Right? You know what I mean? So I feel like gatekeeping is one of those things that allows information to prosper. I know that may not be what the people want to hear, but it's the truth, right? We do want to help people. We do want to be able to put the right information in the right people's hands, but there's a time and place for all of that. Everybody's not meant for everything, right?
Yeah.
That's why there's an information gap in the world. So I'm with gatekeeping to an extent, right? One thing. And then the second thing as well is, what was I about to say? The second thing as well, when it comes down to it, is understanding that, damn, I forgot what I was about to say. Gatekeeping. Okay, I'm with gatekeeping because, like I mentioned before, it differentiates and it separates people that are serious or not. But then the second thing about it is this: most people not gonna do nothing with the information anyway. That's the biggest thing. Like, you can literally give somebody a roadmap to make $1 million, and they'll get stuck on, oh, I couldn't get my website, so I quit.
Mhm.
Right? Like you can literally give people the tools to be successful and they don't do anything about it.
Mm.
And you got to understand, just being honest, and it's not all about money, but when you pay attention.
Mhm.
If I give you information for free, you're not going to value it. It's going to go in one ear out the other. Most people, nine out of 10 people are not going to execute on anything, right?
Yeah.
That's the first thing. But when you pay for something, when you invest in something and you got to make a return on that investment, you're going to make sure you do it, right? So when
Mhm.
you pay attention. So I'm all with gatekeeping to keep the information in the right people's hands when it comes down to it, because I feel like everybody deserves information at a right time in their life.
Mm.
You know, like our parents, they didn't tell us everything that we know now when we were young. They waited till we were older to explain things, because we had experience and we understood why they made certain decisions or why certain things came about. You know what I mean?
100%.
Yeah.
Very, very well said. Diving more into that, you talked a lot about we talk about the misinformation that gets put out. One of the bigger things that we always hear in the space is the importance of building relationships, right? You want to go in, you want to open these accounts, but more importantly, when you apply, not only you open these accounts, but when you're applying, you're not doing it at home in the comfort of your home from your laptop. You have to go in branch if you want the best business credit card products with the highest approvals. From your experience, is that still hold true, or is there some holes in that most people may not know about?
In a way, yeah. But let me break it down like this, right? If you're looking to get, I'm gonna get y'all sauce. I ain't gonna gatekeep on this. I'm gonna get y'all sauce. So y'all do what y'all want to do, right? If you're looking to get high limit funding, right, I would say you want to do these things, right? First, you want to self-evaluate yourself and make sure you qualify for funding. That's the biggest thing. We don't want to live off hope. We want to live off facts, right? Second thing is, going through bankers' BRMs does give you a higher chance of getting that higher approval, because some of these banks allow you to request limits. You can go in branch if you want to, but some other resources I'm gonna give you guys is LinkedIn and Hunter.io, right? Those are two places you can go and find bankers. And this is game that I leave for my students, I'm giving you guys as well. You can connect with bankers and fund yourself through there if you understand what you're doing and how to go about it, right? So those are stages you can take to fund yourself high amounts without having to do all the legwork and going in branch and shaking the right hands. But establishing a relationship with a bank is always going to be the best thing. It's going to be key because when you have that relationship, they're more willing to give you money when they have information and data on you versus you walking in the bank as a stranger. So going in, establishing a relationship with a bank, and then, running the steps that I talked about can really, really help you guys see success. Whether you're, somebody trying to secure funding for yourself or you're, a funding expert, specialist, a broker, right, that's trying to secure funding for a client.
Oh, beautiful. I've also heard another term you hear tossed around a lot is like having, some people call it stacking, some people call it a funding sequence. How important is having one? Well, first, what is it for the people who don't know? And how important is having one when we're trying to also work towards maximizing our capital as well?
Oh, I'm about to get y'all the game on this, right? So let me explain it first, right? So when it comes to credit card stacking and funding sequences, they're essentially the same thing. Credit card stacking is basically the act of basically applying for credit cards in a sequential order to maximize approvals and minimize inquiries, right? The reason why building funding sequences is very, very important is because you have banks that will deny you right away for having too many recent new inquiries, even if you have good credit. So banks like Alliant Credit Union, Barclays, they will deny you even if you have good credit just because you have too many recent new inquiries. So when building your funding sequence, you want to put your inquiry sensitive banks first, right? And then you want to have your less inquiry sensitive banks like an American Express last, because with American Express, even if you have 5 new inquiries, if you meet their data points, they're still going to approve you, right? So what happens is you increase your odds of maximizing the amount of funding you secure and limit the amount of inquiries you occur. You know what I mean?
I'm with you.
So, and then
talk to me.
I'm going to talk to the camera too. 2 resources that you can use to find the best banks in your area. If you're trying to secure funding for yourself or secure funding for your clients, you're in the funding space, right? Number 1 resource is going to be bankbranchlocator.com, right? That can find banks any and everywhere. You put your client's business zip code or your zip code in, and you can find local banks near you. And the other one is iBankNet, which is a powerful, powerful resource that I want people to use because you can find banks in all 50 states. And from there, if you put in 2 and 2 together, you can find the best banks near you, use Hunter.io to be able to go and find bankers and then run it from there.
So we spent a lot of this conversation talking about the traditional side. You said something at the top of the conversation that I said I was going to circle back to, which I think most people may not know this, but I think you're actually stronger on this side of the funding side than the traditional side. Let's talk about alternative funding, because you talked about there's 2 ways for us to get access to capital. One is through, of course, us having good personal credit. The other is through revenue-based lending, otherwise known as alternative. There's a couple of different ways that you could frame it, but for those who are unfamiliar, what exactly is alternative funding?
Yeah, so alternative lending is essentially just revenue-based lending, man. So I like to say this: if it make money, it makes sense.
Facts.
Right? So when it comes to revenue-based lending, they're not as big on the credit side as they are more so on the revenue. Like you can have as low as a 500 credit score, but if let's say you're making at least $8,000 a month minimum, there still is opportunity for you to secure capital. And why this is important, because I know a lot of people say, high interest and high factor rates and all stuff like that. You have to understand the avatar, the client that's at a 500 credit score, they still have a demand for capital, but they can't go to any bank or credit union. They can't go nowhere. You apply to check. It don't matter if you're making $200,000 a month. It don't matter if you're making $1 million a month. If your credit profile is not ideal, they're going to deny you. No matter what. It don't matter how much money you're making, right? So these alternative lenders, they actually give people a second chance at funding when traditional banks like your Chase, Wells Fargo, or credit unions deny you because of your credit score. You know what I mean? So it's that second chance to help people get access to capital when they need it, and it's revenue based, meaning that it's going to be based off your revenue. You're not going to get approved for $150,000 if you're only making $8,000 a month, but you may not even need that. You may think you might want it, but you may not need that to keep your business afloat. So revenue-based lending, man, is a game changer industry, and it's really like how I've been able to build a 7-figure funding company.
Let's dive a little bit more into that. What are there are there different ways within alternative funding or to get revenue-based financing that we can dive into? Because I've heard of a couple different ones, but I want to be able to kind of get it directly from somebody that's actually in it. Like, for example, I've heard of MCAs, I've heard of SBA. Could you break that down for us?
Yeah. First, I want to talk to the brokers and people that run funding companies out there, right? So if you own a funding company, you're a business loan broker, whatever your title is, right? It's going to be essential to offer both traditional credit card stacking funding and also alternative revenue-based lending, right? Why? Because when you offer both, you're able to serve people that have, let's say, good credit and no revenue, but also established business owners that have maybe bad credit but revenue. And what happens is the more funding products you have to offer your clients, the more money you can naturally make by servicing them. The weird thing about the funding industry is the credit card stacking space doesn't really talk or rock with the revenue-based space. And the revenue-based space, they don't rock with the credit card stacking space. So I've just been somebody that's been able to get into both space and really just make the best of both worlds, because when we get leads coming inbound, it's a couple questions we ask them, which we can go over if we need to. And based on the information they give us, we already can know, okay, this is a credit card stacking client. Okay, this is going to be more so revenue based because they don't have the credit. You know what I mean? Because people going to take money either way. You just want to make sure they take it from you so you can get paid. You know, but I do want to go back in and kind of go through each product, right? So MCA is a merchant cash advance. Merchant cash advances a lot of times get a bad name because usually there are daily or weekly payments, which are unfamiliar to most people. Everybody wants traditional rates where they pay monthly, right? But just because you want it don't mean you qualify for it. You know what I'm saying? People got to understand that you may get these daily or weekly payments because you're a risky profile. If you had a 500 score, that means that you have negatives or lates on your profile taking your score, which makes you risky. So these lenders want micro payments so that they can get money back quicker to continue to build a relationship. Because if you get some savvy entrepreneurs 30 days to pay you back, it's like gambling for some of them.
Facts.
You know what I'm saying? They can say, you know what? I got 15 days. I got this 10,000. I'm putting it all on black. And
all of
and
black
when,
is crazy.
you know, and when payday come, when it's time to pay that loan back, they ain't got the money. Now they ghosting. People get funny when money involved, right? You know what I mean? So merchant cash advances are helpful for certain avatars, I would say. They're not meant for those that have good credit. They're meant for people that may not have the best credit, that can't get funded through traditional banks, and it gives them a second opportunity, right? Another thing with merchant cash advances is this, right? If you're somebody that needs capital quick, let's say next day, 2 days, going through traditional banks, that's not going to happen. You're not going to get approved like most places in a day or two. It's going to take time because they have an underwriting process. But with merchant cash advances, you're able to get that capital literally next day, sometimes as soon as 12 hours, if it makes sense to you. And the biggest thing that I want people to take away from this is it's revenue based. So these underwriters are analyzing your revenue and they're giving you offers based off of your revenue to keep you afloat. They're not meant to drown you. So I don't think people understand that. And then another thing with MCAs is this. They don't like it, but I'll kind of touch over it. You can actually adjust payments because it's based on your revenue. So if you're making, let's say, $50,000 a month and you got a $65,000 approval and they gave you a weekly payment of, let's say, $500, just put something out there, right? If your revenue slows down to, let's say, $30K, you can ask for adjusted payments so that it actually compares with what you're making right now currently, and they will honor that because they want to do business with you. So MCAs is a really, really good product when used the right way.
Right.
I would say that, right? Another one is SBAs. So SBAs is going to be for more established business owners. I know in our digital marketing space, everybody talks about SBAs, but how many people are really funding SBAs?
Facts.
Probably not. They don't even know that you got to be in business 2 years or longer to even qualify for it. Everybody wants an SBA, but they don't even know the requirements to actually get access to that, right? So with SBA, depending on the type of SBA, whether it's a 7A, a micro loan, whatever the case may be, at minimum, you're going to need a year of tax returns. You're not going to be able to qualify if you owe the government, right? So you can't be on a payment plan with the government. It may require P&L statements, debt schedules, different things like that. But that's another great offer that you can add to your funding company to help those that are more established, right? And then last but not least, if you're in the funding space and somebody needs equipment, you need to ask that because equipment financing, bro, game changer, bro.
Talk a bit about that.
Game changer, bro. So with equipment financing, it actually gives you really, really good rates. And one thing we do in our funding company is we ask, what do you need the funding for? And if it's a more established business owner and they have, let's say, revenue coming in and they need the money for equipment, then we'll just go down the equipment financing route where they can get us an invoice for the equipment. And we basically can see if we can get a deal funded for them. And there's so many savvy things with equipment financing, like even traditional banks like US Bank, if you're a trucking company, they will give you a truck. You know what I'm saying? You got to have at least 3 trucks, right? So you got to be more established, but they will finance a truck for you if you're a trucking company, right? Or one of the things that I love is a lease buyback. So a lease buyback with equipment financing is basically if you purchase equipment, let's say within the first 30 days or so, and let's say you spent $50,000 out of your business checking account to purchase that equipment, a lot of these equipment financing companies will purchase that equipment back from you, so now you can free up cash flow. So let's say you spent $50,000 of your money on a refrigerator, and you like, damn, that's $50,000 out of my checking account. You can actually sell that back to an equipment financing company and they pay you, let's just say $50,000. Now you have $50,000 back in your business account to free up your cash flow, and they just put you on a monthly installment instead of you having to have that $50,000 deducted from your account. Make sense?
Makes perfect
sense.
sense.
Equipment financing is a really, really, really good product, and they have really, really good rates as well, man. Like we've had students be able to get their clients dump trucks a lot, man, when it comes to equipment financing.
So if I'm listening to this, how do I know? Equipment financing is easy because it's easier to kind of know if I fall into that lane because once again, you're financing the purchase of equipment.
Yeah.
But more so between like a SBA or MCA, how do I know or differentiate which one makes more sense for my business? What are some of those key indicators I should be looking at?
Correct. So point blank period, if you don't have any revenue, you don't need to look at any of these topics. I love being transparent and very simple. So if you don't have any revenue, you're not a little bit more established, don't even turn this part off, right?
Yeah.
So this is for the more established people, right? It's going to be based off your credit score. So MCAs, they're like the bottom of the barrel, meaning they would take the bottom of the barrel if it's making money. You can have as low as a 500. We've had some lenders not even pull credit. Yeah, and just fund them. You know what I'm saying? Not a ton of money, but enough, like 10K. You know what I'm saying? Stuff like that to where still you're able to, you know what I'm saying, make some moves. When it comes to equipment financing and SBAs, that's going to be credit based, right? I would say with SBAs, minimum is 650, but that sweet spot is about 680, right? When it comes to SBA, you want to ask yourself, do you have at least a year of tax returns? Depending on how much you're looking for with the SBA, it's going to require maybe 2 years of tax returns. Do you owe the government? Have you shown profit? Like, you know what I'm saying? You can't be a business that wrote off everything, because then it doesn't like the business profitable, and it's going to be tough to get you an SBA, right? P&L statements, a lot of that stuff you can actually get made from your CPA or whatever, but it's going to be a full doc type of process. But that's going to give you prime rates, you know what I'm saying? Money that you can actually grow with. When it comes to equipment financing, they want to see 2 things. They want to see decent credit, so I would say 680, and sometimes they want to see comparables or I would say history on the business side sometimes, right? Depending on the industry, the type of equipment, and then obviously revenue as well. So really, to make it very simple, if you have bad credit, MCA is going to be your go. If you have decent credit and you have revenue, you may potentially be able to get access to SBAs or equipment financing. And all of them pay good. I know we're more talking to business owners that may want to secure capital, but if you're somebody that's trying to get into the funding space, you are a business loan broker, right? These products, selling these products are way easier than credit card stacking, and it makes you money. It's quicker turnaround, and you can put money back into the business too.
That's a perfect segue into what I wanted to talk about next. I want to talk a little bit about funding companies, right? Because obviously you've been able to have tremendous success. You're helping other individuals have success in this space as well. If you had to give a simple step-by-step blueprint that somebody watching this could take to start their own funding company, whether it's 2 steps, 3 steps, 10 steps, whatever that looks like for you, what would that step-by-step process be?
The first thing, obviously, I'll just get out the way. Obviously, file an LLC. The second thing I would say, me personally, I do things a little bit different than most people. I would say I would get you some bankers, use Hunter.io, maybe get signed up with some lenders if you can. But don't spend a whole bunch of time getting a bunch of lenders, right? The third most important thing, which honestly is like first to me, is you want to dial into marketing as soon as possible. Like, I'm going to say this in the camera because this is very, very important, right? Most people that quote unquote teach funding don't really teach it and don't really know, but what I'm about to give you is about to be game. Most people think they need 100 million bankers. They spend time trying to get all the bankers in the world. We got bankers in all 50 states. That is cool, my friend. But if you don't understand marketing, you don't have a business. If you don't dial into marketing, focus on marketing, it does not matter how many bankers you have because you're not going to have any leads to send to them, right? So I am big on getting you maybe your core 3 bankers or whatever, or even if you're doing online apps, whatever you're doing, do, right? Even if it's alternative, getting some alternative lenders, whatever you want to do. But you want to dial into marketing as soon as possible because marketing is what's going to take you from that 0 to 10K month by understanding how to attract clients. And every client doesn't have to be $100,000 client. People come in here and bullshit you and say they're getting every client 100,000. I'm here to tell you that's a lie, right? We average in my company getting our clients around $60,000, right? $60,000, $50,000, boom. Every client's not going to be a $100,000 client, right? But what happens is if you're getting 10 clients a month that you're funding $60,000, that's $6K a pop. That's way better than getting one client and trying to figure out how you get them 100,000, right? So dialing into marketing is going to be very, very important, and document the process. Once you get a process of doing, like, being successful at marketing, and we can dive into marketing if we want to and just get more specific on that, being able to replicate yourself, being able to hire other people, take some of the load off of you, maybe make your onboarding process a little bit more efficient, and then going from A to Z to be able to, you know what I'm saying, get that desired outcome, boss.
You've seen people post their 50K approvals online, but have you ever wondered why it hasn't happened for you yet? You're clocking in at your 9 to 5, you're building your business after hours, you're even stacking your 401k and setting money aside for investments. So on paper, you're doing all the right things, but here's the problem. Growth feels slower than it should, opportunities keep passing you by because the capital isn't there, and you start wondering if building a real legacy for your family is even possible. It's not about effort or commitment because you've already proven that you have both. The missing piece is having the proper structure. That's why inside of our free masterclass, the Fast Track to Capital, I'm going to show you a step-by-step process on how entrepreneurs just like you are securing $50,000 to $100,000 in capital safely without wasting years on trial and error. So if you want to secure your seat, click the link above or below this video to save your spot, and don't keep grinding without the structure that gets real results.
If you had to give one strategy around marketing that maybe a mistake you made early on that you were able to fix later on, or something that you've seen has helped most of your students have success, what would that strategy be?
Man, okay, can I break this down even deeper?
Go ahead.
All right, cool. So when it comes to marketing, specifically in the funding space, you first want to identify your avatar, right? That's going to be very, very important, really, in any marketing. Meaning that if you're going to be primarily credit card stacking, you want to understand that you're dealing with people that have no revenue, more than likely, but good credit scores. These are going to be wannabe-preneurs, 9 to 5 people that want, to get out of the rat race, different things like that. So you want to talk that in your messaging, right? I'll give you an example. People that have good jobs and good credits, you can say, hey, look, corporate America workers, wouldn't you like to make an additional $10,000 to $15,000 off, leveraging the bank's money instead of yours? Or aren't you tired of working overtime and not really seeing the benefits of it? Well, there's a route for you to get in business without using any of your money. Boom. Now we go into pitching how 0% interest funding, not having to provide any proof of income, can help you get to that. You know what I'm saying? So you want to understand your avatar. If you're working with more established business owners, you just want to stay it up front. Like, hey, look, are you an established business owner and, the banks denied you because of your credit? Well, we have opportunities to be able to still get you access to capital if you're making over X amount. And don't worry, we don't charge you. Why? Because with alternative lending, as you know, you get paid on the back end from the lender. So you don't have to worry about charging them at 10% that you do with credit card stacking. You know what I mean? So that's the first thing. Once you identify your avatar, then we want to go into understanding who your avatar is, where do they sleep, what are their desires, different things like that. And you want to curate your website, your social media profiles, everything around attracting that avatar. Many people try to get everybody in business, but if you just focus on speaking directly to your avatar, you're going to make a ton of money. You know what I mean? So that's one way. And then we're going to go into the pathway of marketing. What is going to be your marketing angle? There's only 2 ways to market in any business. You're either going to spend with money or spend with time. And people don't understand that. If you ain't got no damn money, then you need to be talking to everybody. But if you got a budget for ads, you can spend your way to acquire a client. Yeah. Right? So understanding what boat you're in allows you to quickly make decisions and get back into business. And that's what it's all about, right? So if you're somebody that has money to put on ads, we talked about this last podcast and it still stands the same. You can run Google ads or Meta, you can do both. What I've seen in my company, Google ads brings clients that have more intent, more qualified, meaning having revenue, and we have an easier time dealing with them. A lot of times when we run meta ads, because you're popping on somebody's feed, you're just getting people that may want to play with the idea of having funding. They may not be as serious. Sometimes your no-show rates increase because they're not really serious. It just sounds cool, right? So you can spend money on ads and still get your attract the clients that you want. When it comes down to it, if you're not somebody that has money to put into ads, bro, you gotta strap them boots up.
Yeah.
Right? You gotta strap them boots up, right? You gotta start that affiliate program. And that affiliate program can really do numbers for you. One of my students, shout out to Xavier, we were able to get them 100K. We were able to help him get to $100,000 months with no ads. I literally came in and saw what he was doing. He had a crazy affiliate empire. I'm like, okay, cool. Let's back you up. Let's get you a team and let's do more of what's already working. So we got him an affiliate manager that did more outreach to not only get him bankers, but also more affiliates that send him more leads, right? So understanding what box you fall into really allows you to play the game. And then one thing I'm gonna give you guys too, this is gonna be game. I've seen it in my academy. I've been doing it lately, and I want you guys to take this. I'm gonna just give it to you. If you're in the revenue-based lending space, it's going to be essential that you partner with credit card processing companies. Do you know why? Let me see if you know why.
Credit card processing companies. I'm trying to pull it in real time. No, I don't.
Okay. So credit card processing companies work directly with business owners and they're processing their transactions. You see what I'm going with it? You see what I'm going with it? So when you partner with them, you're already seeing the revenue that some of these business owners have, and you see where they need capital at, and you're able to plug and play and get those referrals over. Literally, even if they have bad credit, well, you know they're making 30, 40, 50K a month. Boom. And where I kind of got this philosophy from is more and more now than ever, bigger companies are getting into the alternative lending space. I don't know if you noticed it, and I'm going to give you a few. We know DoorDash, right? What do we know DoorDash for being?
Pretty expensive when it comes to them delivery fees. But it is a platform we use to get food delivered to and from us.
Right. Do you know that DoorDash actually lends out money now?
Did you? Is it because of the Affirm and Klarna stuff?
No.
Really?
They actually are into the revenue-based lending space now.
I know you motherfucking lying.
So DoorDash, they will look at your deposit. They will look at your cash flow, your revenue, and they will literally send an email or ping restaurants to say, hey, you qualify for X amount of funding, and give them an MCA or a term loan or a line of credit. They're a broker. They're not even lending their own money. They're doing what we can do. Another one, we lost a ton of deals to them. What is QuickBooks known for?
QuickBooks is accounting software.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's for businesses, right? You can connect all your business bank accounts, your checking accounts.
Credit cards and all.
They're able to see your revenue as well. And they offer you lines of credit, business term loans, MCAs. And it's not their money. They're just a broker doing what we can do. So it's so many different people, so many different companies getting into this space because it's a $1 billion industry that nobody talks about. Nobody talks about. And it's a game changer, man. It's a game changer when I say it. And that's why I tell people it's going to be very, very essential that in 2026, if you are serious about running a funding company, if you are serious about getting into this space, you need to offer more than just credit cards. The most successful people in the funding space have multiple different funding products to offer their clients. Everybody don't want damn credit cards. And if you only got Chase, I pray for you because eventually that's going to be tough too. I'm going to pray for you, right? Because a lot of people that was quote unquote doing funding in early 2025, now when Chase changed up regulations, they went back to credit repair.
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? So it's going to be very, very essential that you have those things going forward, man. And really, bro, I don't know if we have enough time. I would love to kind of break down. I know we're gonna do something special for the people. I don't want to launch it yet, but I want to kind of give them a taste on how the strategies I've been able to implement with my students and then myself to build a 7-figure coin.
We gonna that's gonna be part 2. We don't got enough time.
Okay.
We got enough time to say. And I know y'all gonna be mad at me in the comments. I know y'all mad at me in the comments because y'all gonna be like, what do you mean we don't got enough time? We don't got enough time. We gonna have to make it part 2 now. Because now the next conversation has to be around how you got to 7 figures and how other people can get to that 6-figure mark and beyond, all in the fun space. So you already gave them some game.
Yeah.
But now we're gonna have to break it down from sales, marketing, operations, and beyond. And I'm excited for it.
Me too, man.
This is gonna be a good conversation. Brother, I know we have to get you out of here. Before we do, at this point in your entrepreneurial journey, I'm curious to know, these are my final 2 questions. My first one being, what would you say is your North Star at this point? What are you working towards?
Man, I would say impact, man, and having fun, enjoying the process, man. Just being honest, having success, me being able to have success as fast as I have, I've sacrificed a lot. I
Yeah.
sacrificed a lot, and I really put my emotions behind me. I'm a person that doesn't work off motivation. I work off discipline.
Yeah.
So no matter how I feel, I'm going to do what I do. Like, bro, look at it. I flew in last night at 12, and we didn't even talk about that, but we was up at 6 a.m. working out.
Wearing out.
And you said you thought I wasn't even gonna make it.
Nope.
And I told you, nah, I'm gonna be there. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? So I'm a very, very disciplined person. But and this upcoming year, man, I want to have fun, bro. I really want to have fun, not only impacting people, but really, really enjoying the process of the fruits of my labor, being able to bring more people up. Because what separates, I would say, lower class from middle class to upper class is the information gap. Everybody can make a bunch of excuses about background and stuff, but we all know millionaires that came from nothing, right?
Right.
It's really information and resources, and I want to be able to provide that and just have fun. That's why I got me the WWE belt. That's why I got you one, man. It's just going back to our kid days, man, when we used to watch WrestleMania and stuff like that, and just having fun with it, man. Like enjoying the process. I'm in a better space. My family's in a better space. But now it's like, man, I really want to crank this thing up and have fun and love on the people, man. So
I love it.
Got a lot coming.
I love it. My final question for you. If you were sitting in your seat and sitting across from you dropped in Stedman 10 years into the future, and you could only ask him one question, and he was only able to give you an answer in one sentence, what would you ask him, and what do you think his answer would be?
You gotta say that one more time, boss.
If you were sitting in your seat
Okay.
and you 10 years into the future dropped into the studio right now, and you're sitting across from him, you get to ask you 10 years into the future one question, and he can answer you back in one sentence, and that's it. He can only answer you back. He can't give you a whole essay, a whole explanation. You can only ask him one question. He answers you back in one sentence, and that's it. He disappears. He's gone. What would you ask him, and what do you think his answer would be?
Me personally, I'm gonna just be real and be organic. I would ask him, yo, what's the next move for me to be successful? And knowing me, I would tell myself, just trust the process. As corny as that sounds.
And just bounce out.
Yeah.
That's it.
The only reason why, and I know a lot of us struggle with this, is overthinking.
Yeah.
And sometimes you need that person to just say, like, yo, you're at the right place at the right time. Trust the process. Everything's gonna happen. Because if somebody gives you, a scoop on the future, now you're like, okay, this has to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But when they don't give you the answer and they tell you that you're doing everything you need to do, you have no choice but to be patient and trust the process.
Ball game.
So I would say that, man.
Stedman Waiters, we don't have to turn this into a series, because every time this brother come on here, I feel like I gotta have a notepad to the side to take some notes on it. We're gonna set up another part after this, but until then, obviously, this episode has been jam-packed with value. Your camera right there. Let the people know where they can find you, what you have going on, and how they can get connected with you.
100%, man. So before that, just like how I show love to you, gave you your flowers, I want to give flowers to the people, man, like I always do. So there's a couple of things I want you guys to know, right? First and foremost, if you're somebody that's looking to secure funding or get into the funding space, I got something special just for my guys, Marvin's podcast, right? I'm giving you guys a free course literally on how you can start your funding company from A to Z, right? If you're somebody that's more established in the funding space, right? I'm giving you guys a free course on how you can hire and have SOPs and systems inside of your funding business. So it's going to be jam-packed, man. I'm getting them everything they need, man. Also, if you're somebody that's interested in getting into the space, I have a free training, specifically exclusively for my guy Marvin. You get those free bonuses, even if you want to come or not. But if you're looking to find me, first and foremost, Stedman Waiters on LinkedIn, on Instagram, sted.waiters, same thing with TikTok, YouTube, Stedman Waiters. I drop free funding videos every single week on there. And if you're looking for funding, Waiters Capital is where we at. If you're looking to start your own funding company, Wealth Builders Academy is where we at. So.
I just want to make it be known, this is the Marvin Francois Show history. I've never had somebody ever plug their LinkedIn. That's how you know you do it. Everyone plugs their Instagram, the YouTube. I've never had somebody plug their LinkedIn. So shout out to you, my brother. But thank you once again for this. Once again, easily the greatest gift that I think I've ever received. But more importantly, thank you to each and every single one of y'all. And if you haven't already, what are you doing? Take a second, take a minute, take an hour out of your day, right here, right now. Go ahead, hit that subscribe button, show the episode some love, tell a friend to come back and rewatch it again. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, I am your host, Marvin Francois. That is the always incredible Mr. Stedman Waiters. You guys have been good. We've been great. This has been amazing. Thank you all. God bless. And until next time, peace.